What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 8:06 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East. So, this evening, the U.S. military launched airstrikes in eastern Syria, and this was a retaliatory strike against the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which have been attacking U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria over the last few weeks. They've already launched over 46 attacks in the last month, and that's just what we're being told officially. It could be much more than that. And we know that at least 2 U.S. troops had to be sent to Germany for head injuries that they received from these attacks. So I want to read to you this press release from the U.S. Department of Defense. And also, we had Central Command release some information about another B-1 bomber that flew over the Middle East and conducted some kind of an exercise. So I want to read to you a little bit about that. But this is the second time in the last 3 days that a B-1 bomber has flown over the Middle East. Okay. So today, at President Biden's direction, U.S. military forces conducted a self-defense strike on a facility in eastern Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and affiliated groups. This strike was conducted by 2 U.S. F-15s against a weapons storage facility. This precision self-defense strike is a response to a series of attacks against U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria by IRGC Quds Force affiliates. The president has no higher priority than the safety of U.S. personnel, and he directed today's action to make clear that the United States will defend itself, its personnel, and its interests. The United States is fully prepared to take further necessary measures to protect our people and our facilities. We urge against any escalation. U.S. personnel will continue to conduct counter ISIS missions in Iraq and Syria. Okay. And here we have a tweet that was released by Central Command this evening. And they tweeted, following a series of attacks against U.S. persons in Iraq and Syria, U.S. Central Command forces conducted an airstrike against a facility in Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and affiliates. We will take all necessary measures to defend our people against those who are responsible for the attacks and will respond at a time and place of our choosing. Okay, so huge news, guys. Okay, it's continuing to escalate in the Middle East. Okay, the U.S. is now launching more airstrikes in the Middle East. This is the second airstrike that the U.S. has launched in this part of Syria. Okay, and it's only going to get worse and worse. And right now, we have a lot of emergency action messages being transmitted. These are nuclear attack options. And since about 5 o'clock Eastern time, there's been probably at least half a dozen of these emergency action messages just back to back. And we currently have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane flying over Italy. And where it's going, I have no idea, but this is a doomsday plane for the president or the defense secretary. And as far as I know, the president is not traveling overseas anytime soon. The defense secretary is supposed to be going to the Indo-Pacific region. So maybe he's going over the Middle East and he's going to fly this way across the Arabian Peninsula towards India. But this is extremely unusual. So I will monitor where this thing lands and let you guys know in my next update what happened with that doomsday plane. But during a nuclear war, these planes would be used by the president and the defense secretary to command the U.S. nuclear forces from the air, which is the safest way to do that rather than on the ground. And here we have a U.S. nuclear war command and control plane airborne, and it's doing loops off the coast of New Jersey and Long Island. And when it's doing loops like this, it means that it's transmitting those nuclear attack options to our submerged nuclear armed submarines. And it's no coincidence that this thing is out here doing these loops right now, because they just carried out that airstrike in Syria. So they want to be ready just in case, something happens and there's some kind of an escalation as a result. So they have this thing airborne in case they have to communicate with our nuclear forces. So things are continuing to escalate, guys. Here's a tweet that was put out later on in the afternoon today from Central Command. It says on November 8th, 2023, which is today, and for the second time in 3 days, a U.S. B-1 Lancer conducted a mission over the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility. U.S. F-16s escorted the bomber. So here's a picture of that mission. What that mission is, we have no idea. Okay, what was this mission? No idea. Okay, it just says for the second time in 3 days, a U.S. B-1 Lancer conducted a mission over the U.S. Central Command area of responsibility. Okay, so these are nuclear bombers, guys. These are supersonic nuclear bombers. They can carry air-launched cruise missiles. They can also carry gravity bombs, and they are nuclear capable. Okay, and we know that the U.S. moved at least 2 of them to Turkey at the Incirlik Air Base in Turkey, which happens to be the base in Turkey where we keep our nuclear weapons as part of the NATO nuclear weapons sharing program. So if we did have to launch a nuclear strike on Iran, we have all the assets in the region. We have the B-1s, we have the nukes in Turkey, okay? And we also have an Ohio-class sub in the region as well. And this was confirmed by U.S. Central Command. Okay, this Ohio-class sub probably has 154 Tomahawk missiles with W-80 nuclear warheads. Okay, and then we also have CENTCOM tweeting that 5 U.S. Coast Guard cutters and 2 Avenger-class mine countermeasure ships sailed through the Gulf of Oman on November the 3rd. All right, so they're doing counter mine operations in the Gulf of Oman, and they have 5 U.S. Coast Guard Sentinel-class fast response cutters there as well. Okay, so they're patrolling the Strait of Hormuz and that whole area. And they wrote here, these units enhance maritime security and deter malign activity in this vital region and through strategic checkpoints such as the Strait of Hormuz. We know that a lot of oil comes out through that area. So this is pretty serious, guys. 5 Coast Guard cutters and mine countermeasures ships. And Central Command also confirmed on November the 5th that a U.S. B-1 Lancer conducted an aerial refueling exercise in the Central Command area of responsibility, which is the Middle East. So it was refueled by a KC-135 Stratotanker. The mission was designed to build agility and interoperability between U.S. and partners while demonstrating the ability of the U.S. military to respond to crises and contingencies across theaters. Okay, so they're not just moving these there for no reason, guys. Okay, they have B-1 bombers in the region. They have an Ohio-class sub in the region. They have F-15s in the region, which are nuclear-capable fighter jets. In fact, that's their primary mission. So everything's in place, okay? And then we have the Dwight Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group moving towards Iran right now as we speak. So everything is in position, guys. And I don't think this is just for defensive purposes either. I think that we're going to potentially see a preemptive strike on Iran to denuclearize them, because the U.S. House of Representatives passed a resolution almost unanimously last week, saying that they will not accept Iran to become a nuclear power, and the US and its allies will do anything to stop Iran from becoming a nuclear power. And Iran is on the verge of becoming a nuclear power right now. Okay. And guess what, guys? Elections are coming up next year. Biden is facing re-election. Okay. Ukraine didn't work out so well for him because the front lines have stalled out, and we spent billions and billions of dollars to help Ukraine, and it hasn't produced that much fruit. Okay, the front lines are still stalled out. So it would be a perfect time for Biden to launch a massive preemptive nuclear strike on Iran to denuclearize them, so he could have something to brag about when it comes time for reelection. He could say that he was the U.S. president that denuclearized Iran. And furthermore, wartime presidents always get reelected. Okay, if we actually get into a war with Iran, or there's a larger Middle East war, Biden will get reelected. Okay, so that's something to consider, guys. Okay, so get prepared. Make sure you have everything you need, because things are going to get crazy here. Any day now, I expect the Middle East to erupt into all-out war. The Israeli Air Force carried out airstrikes in Syria as well tonight, and apparently a series of explosions have been reported in Damascus. And the Israeli Defense Forces are reporting that Hamas has lost control of northern Gaza. Israel says Brazilian security services and Mossad thwarted an attempted terrorist attack in Brazil planned by Hezbollah and financed by Iran. The U.S. House of Representatives condemns and censures Palestinian Democrat Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib for promoting false narratives regarding the October 7 Hamas attack on Israel, and for calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. A Russian missile hit a Liberian-flagged civilian ship as it entered a Ukrainian port in the Odessa Oblast. One sailor was killed and 4 people were injured. The ship was transporting iron ore to China. And we had some auroras over the weekend. Here we have some pictures from New York, Texas, Missouri, and Arizona of aurora borealis. I didn't see anything over here, although I didn't even know that we had one coming in, so I didn't really look to the skies at the proper time. But pretty amazing. And here we have the latest solar disk, and you can see that it's quieting down dramatically here on the sun. Not a lot of sunspots. We have this one sunspot here, 3477, which is pretty big. But other than that, the sun is getting very quiet very fast. And I do believe we are about to enter the grand solar minimum, which could bring about a little ice age, a global cooling period over the next 30 to 50 years. And this has happened in the past during the Maunder minimum. We had the little ice age. So get prepared, guys. We have a lot of things going on. We have possibly nuclear war, possibly a little ice age. We have elections coming up, which are going to tear apart this country even more. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I will be releasing more updates tomorrow. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you're notified when I post these updates. And other than that, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.